Regardless of where you spend your time on YouTube, it's almost impossible for you to have missed at least one iceberg video. Pretty much every single both real and fictional community has at least one iceberg covering the progressively less well-known information about a series until it becomes so obscure that pretty much no one knows what it's talking about. Today, we're going to be covering the Dragonball Iceberg made by the Redditor Angel12416, whose obscurity level goes from Kame House level all the way down to Tournament of Power level. I'm going to do my best to cover every single point on this massive iceberg and explain what it is to the best of my ability. As this video is probably going to be pretty long, I will have gameplay of DBZ Devolution in the background, but you can totally listen to this video as a podcast if you want to. With how many levels there are and how many points there are in each level, let's not waste any time and jump right in. Kame House level. DB Heroes. For the first level, these facts are pretty well known, so we'll be going over them very quickly and skipping most of them. I'll only be mentioning ones that maybe a small group of people don't know, and this will go for all the following levels as well. So, Dragon Ball Heroes is a series of games and promotional anime that cover many what-if scenarios in Dragon Ball. Tarble. Tarble is Vegeta's long-lost brother who appears in Yo Son Goku and his friends return. As this special is a bit obscure, maybe not everybody knows about this guy. Power levels are BS. This is a long-running joke in the Dragon Ball community, partially popularized by internet jokes in series like Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Censorship. While this is a very vague term, Dragon Ball has always been censored in numerous different ways across the world in different dub releases. Several of these censorships individually are mentioned later, so let's just move on for now. Sonic parallels. There is a long-running comparison between the Dragon Ball and Sonic the Hedgehog franchises that are often summarized best by the chart here. They both have super forms that turn them golden, they have 7 things to collect, they have a similar looking rival, the list goes on. Journey to the West. Dragon Ball, and particularly the character of Goku, is inspired by Sun Wukong in the book Journey to the West, which is a 16th century Chinese fantasy novel telling about the journeys of a monkey king named Sun Wukong. Goku Day. May 9th, also written as 5-9 when spoken in Japanese, sounds exactly like Goku's name, Go-Ku. This is why sometimes Goku can be seen wearing clothes with 5-9 written on them as a small joke. Recently, companies have started using this as a day to promote some sort of merchandise or event celebrating the character of Goku. It's over 9,000. The classic mistranslation of the Ocean dub has become a meme. Even though its most iconic power level in the series, Goku's power level was actually over 8,000 and for some reason became 9,000 through translation. Majin race creation. I think this one should be way further down on the iceberg. In the game Dragon Ball Online, the Majin Buu race is created in the future after the end of Dragon Ball when Buu reads a book about love, then creates a wife for himself, has a kid, and those children eventually become 1/3 of the world's population. This is all I think that needs to be covered on level 1, so let's just move on to Kame House. Toribot. Toribot is the self-insert character created by Toriyama, who sometimes comments either within author messages or occasionally within certain releases of the story itself. He's described as being even above the gods in the world. Gohan Blanco and El Hermano, a form created by the Spanish-speaking Dragon Ball community in which Gohan has white hair. This essentially became canon with Beast Gohan appearing in Dragon Ball Superhero. El Hermano is a similar creation who is essentially just a blue version of Jiren with a weird shaved head. Harmony Gold. Harmony Gold is a company who actually conducted the first English dub of OG Dragon Ball back in the late 80s. This dub was notorious for changing characters' names, like Goku's name being Zero and Krillin's name being Bongo. 300 Stones and To Be Released. These two are notorious in the Dokkan community, but completely unknown outside of it. 300 Stones was given out as a minor error on a Dokkan banner back in 2017, a compensation which has never been surpassed in scale. To Be Released as a reference to the global release of Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta and Omega Shenron, who do not release with their leader skills, a notorious global shaft. Toriyama Memory. Toriyama has gone on record multiple times saying he sometimes forgets things he already put in the story and wishes he had guidebooks like the Daizenshu with him while he was writing the story. Speaking of the Daizenshu. The Daizenshu are a set of guidebooks that come out right after the end of Dragon Ball Z's manga run and act as a guide that covers essentially every aspect of the world of Dragon Ball, including special anime and movie editions. Most other Dragon Ball guidebooks are based off of these original guides. Hit still in the Tournament of Power. This was a notorious fan theory during the original airing of Dragon Ball Super, in which people theorized that Hit would somehow return during the Tournament of Power after being eliminated, and that he had actually been hiding inside his time bubble the whole time. Obviously, this was not true. Suno. Suno is the young red-haired girl that Goku meets in OG Dragon Ball. She's made a handful of appearances later on in the series, notably during the creation of the Spirit Bomb at the end of Z, when she is a full-grown adult. Lapis and Lazuli. These are the original names of Android 17 and 18 before they were turned into cyborgs. HFIL. This is an example of the dub censoring things. In some episodes during the Saiyan Saga, characters can be seen wearing shirts that blatantly say hell on them. To hide this, they covered up the bottom of the E and made it so their shirt stood for Home for Infinite Losers, or something like that. S-cells. S-cells are a very real concept in Dragon Ball that essentially determines if someone can become a Super Saiyan. Becoming stronger or having a gentler heart can both increase the number of S-cells in the body. This explains why someone seemingly unworthy can become Super Saiyan later on in the franchise, like Goten, Trunks, and the Universe 6 Saiyans. They just have unnaturally high S-cells in comparison to characters like Goku, Trunks, Adult Trunks, and Vegeta. Goku Black's original English voice. Sean Schemmel's performance as Goku Black kind of changes depending on how long he was working with the character, going from dark and raspy to literally just British Goku to some kind of middle ground in between. Just compare how he sounds in Xenoverse to how he sounds in Fighters to how he sounds in anime. They all sound a little bit different, and that's okay. That's all the ones worth covering in this tier. After this point, the obscurity of some of these facts really begin to vary greatly, and even I can't confidently explain everything unlike the previous tiers. If you've made it this far, you probably care at least a little bit about Dragon Ball, and I'm never going to stop talking about it, so please subscribe if you aren't already, but for now, let's just jump into the Budokai level of the iceberg. Toriko crossover. This is referring to the Dream 9 Dragon Ball, One Piece, and Toriko special. This is a basic crossover episode in which Luffy, Toriko, and Goku fight before teaming up to beat some monster. I think it actually recently got an English dub. Kuriza. Kuriza is Frieza's son, who appears in the parody manga Neko Majin Z, which is written and illustrated by Toriyama starting in the late 90s. Summer Vacation Special. This is a very not well-known TV-only special that came out between DBZ Movie 10 and 11, in which Gohan and Goku, while wearing suits, summarize and talk about all the previous Dragon Ball movies. Various dubs. There are other official English dubs on Dragon Ball that are not for the US. Bang Zoom does the English dub release for Asian countries that speak English, like India. There are also many other dubs mentioned on this list and in this tier, like the Sophie dub, which is another term for the French Dragon Ball dub, and the Blue Water dub, which was mostly made and shown in Canada. Traffic Safety. This is an even more obscure TV special. This time, instead of discussing the movies, it promotes traffic safety to children using Dragon Ball characters. DBS Special Missing Scenes. During the Tournament of Power episode 109 and 110 1-hour special, which were released at the same time, episode 109 covers Goku using the Spirit Bomb on Jiren, with episode 110 covering Ultra Instinct Sign versus Jiren. In the original airing of this special, there was an added scene in which Jiren appears to struggle a lot more with the Spirit Bomb. This was cut in all later releases of the scene. Toible. Toible is the name of the author of Dragon Ball AF fan manga. It is almost unanimously considered that Toible is almost certainly actually Toyotaro, the current author and writer of the Dragon Ball Super manga. Hey, way to get an upgrade in your job. Dragon Boy. Dragon Boy was a 2-chapter manga written in 1983. While essentially incomplete, it's pretty clear that this story can be considered a prototype or test run that would eventually become Dragon Ball. Goku Black is Goten. When the Goku Black arc was first airing, theories about who Goku Black was running rampant. One of the most dominant theories was that Goku Black was actually an evil grown-up version of future Goten that somehow no one, including a live Chi-Chi, didn't know about. Thank goodness this did not turn out to be what they went with. Katas. This is the Namekian who is technically Piccolo's grandfather? Katas is the name of the Namekian who gave birth to the Namekian who then split into Kame and King Piccolo, who then went on to make Piccolo Jr. Mark. This is just Hercule's first real name, LR Kid Buu. Another notorious aspect of the Dokkan Battle community is the fact that Kid Buu has never gotten an LR rarity unit, despite many other characters getting one, or even multiple. His power is maximum. This is a quote from a kid named Marcus Johnson who submitted his drawing of Broly to a local newspaper, saying that his power is maximum. It's been used since in different Dragon Ball memes, notably in Broly Abridged. Angels are evil. This is another theory that was going on during the Tournament of Power, and theorized that the angels were actually behind the Tournament of Power and wanted to wipe out all of the universes. Many somehow believe that the final battle would be Goku vs. Jiren fighting the Grand Priest. Once again, thankfully, this was not what they chose to end the story with. Kaioken Chi-Chi. In the anime, there are several occasions which Chi-Chi appears to have a red aura that is very similar to the Kaioken technique. Obviously, she is not actually using it. That concludes the major points of the Budokai tier, so let's move on to the next level, the Cell Games tier. Honestly, this tier doesn't actually feel that much more obscure than the level above it, but still has some pretty unknown stuff. Ambassador Goku. In the 2020 Olympic Games in Japan, the country announced that a series of ambassadors of their country that were made up of many popular characters from Japan. Namely, among them was Goku. Buchigiri Match. Buchigiri Match is now a no longer running Dragon Ball browser game. It was known for having some pretty unique art and having renders that had never been seen in any other media. My reaction images of Goku are actually come from this game, so shout out to Buchigiri Match. Fire Safety PSA. Known as Goku's Fire Brigade, this is another PSA meant to teach children about different safety techniques, but instead of traffic, it's for fires this time. Gohan Age Change. In chapter 196 of Dragon Ball, Gohan is called 3 years old. However, in the immediate next chapter, his age is changed as he introduces himself by breaking the fourth wall and telling the audience that he is 4. This is not the first time Gohan's age would be somewhat muddled in the series. Perfect Cell went Super Saiyan 2. After Cell recovers from blowing himself up, he is described as having powered up like Gohan, and gains an electrical aura around his body like Super Saiyan 2. Some fans say that this is literal and that Cell literally gained Super Saiyan 2, even though that makes absolutely no sense for his strength. Ginyu's original body. While we've never seen Ginyu's original body verbatim, some obscure guides imply that his original body was actually very human looking and that he got progressively stronger. He eventually got the purple horned body that we know today. Tien isn't fully human. In an interview, Toriyama implies that Tien isn't a full human and that due to being raised by the Crane School, he lost access to the mystical powers that lied in his third eye. Looking back at it all, once again we have another obscure anime OVA, this time being called Looking Back at It All. From what I understand, it involves Goku visiting his family before the events of the Buu Saga, with him talking about the events of Dragon Ball that led up to this point. This is also another OVA where Goku wears a suit for some reason. Kamehameha, named from a Hawaiian king. This is just true. The name of the Kamehameha is directly based off of the name of King Kamehameha the Great of Hawaii, a man who ruled the islands from 1795 to 1819, and was succeeded by his son, who was also named Kamehameha. Super Saiyan Grade 5. Before Goku officially called it Super Saiyan 2 before his fight with Fat Buu, Super Saiyan 2 did not have an officially stated name. However, several guides came out before this and referred to the form as Super Saiyan Grade 5, as logically it was what Super Saiyan naming convention was still following at the time, with Grade 4 being the form Goku and Gohan used against Cell. El Manga Legendario. This is another personal favorite of mine. El Manga Legendario is an official manga guidebook and magazine that covers the entirety of Dragon Ball. It is well known among power scalers as some pretty helpful information about how strong certain characters are. The only caveat of this is that this guide was only released in Spain. Dokkan Spoiler MUI. When the first Ultra Instinct unit was released in Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, it did not have an awakening. Many fans correctly predicted that this was because Ultra Instinct had a higher form that had not been revealed yet. When the unit eventually awakened, it came with Mastered Ultra Instinct. Majin Buu's origins. There are some contradictions around where Majin Buu came from. While Shin says that Majin Buu was created by Dabiri, it is confirmed that he actually existed long before that, and it was just discovered and controlled by Bibidi at some point in the past. Villains inspired by editors. This one again is just a true statement. Several villains across Dragon Ball Z were based off of Toriyama's different editors as well as other aspects that he had noticed in the world at the time, like loan sharks. Toyotaro plagiarism. There have been a handful of controversies in the past with Toyotaro seeming to trace art of other artists. The most notable was when he seemingly traced a comic book panel of Captain America when drawing Goku. Another one is when Mastered Ultra Instinct Goku gut punches Jiren, looking very similar to when Goku gut punches Piccolo from the 23rd Budokai. Real 4D. In Universal Studios Japan, there are movie theater ride experiences based on Dragon Ball known as the Real 4D. To my knowledge, there are 2 of them, one of them being Goku vs. Frieza, and the second being Goku and Vegeta battling God Broly and needing to fuse with the audience to beat him. Japanese audio quality. Ever noticed that the audio in the original Japanese run of Dragon Ball sounds really bad? This is not how it originally sounded, and is apparently because of how the studio preserved their recordings. There are some pretty in-depth videos going over how this happened that you can check out. 2 Bardoks. This is generally referring to how there are now 2 versions of Bardock that seem to exist. The original Bardock, who appears in the Z manga, and the special, and the new Bardock, who appears in Dragon Ball Minus, the Super manga, and Super Broly. Macy's Parade Balloon. I don't know if this is obscure, but the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade recently added Goku to its lineup of massive floats that include many other popular characters. So, those were the first 4 levels of the iceberg. There are still 6 more, but they are so much more obscure and not as large as these first few. Due to this, there will be a lot fewer things for me to skip, but there is no way I could fit this all in one video and get it out to you guys in a reasonable time. So I'm going to save those for a different time, so please make sure to comment down below if you want to see part 2 so we can really dive into the weird stuff. But that's all from me. See ya.